Hi, and welcome to the NMEA podcast. I am your host, Nadia Cater. I'm joined again, of course, with our producer, Jamie Trujillo.
Hello, everyone.
Today we're in beautiful Taos. It's been gorgeous. I can't get over the views, the mountains, the sun, the green. Different beauty than Albuquerque.
Yes.
where we both live. I am here today at UNM-Taos at the EMS IET classroom with the two instructors, Nina Bargiora and Mary Ann Ferguson. Yeah, so the reason why Jamie and I have driven all the way to Taos is because we're checking out IET programs. This is our first visit. And first episode's going to come out about IETs. And we just really wanted to see what that looks like. I was talking to Nina and Mary Ann before we started recording. And Jamie and I have so much experience in HSC, but we've never worked in an IET program. We never worked with one. So now that we're out of the classroom, this is a great opportunity to just really get in there. So we're talking to the two instructors, and we just really want to learn more about it. So we're going to go observe the class after this and just be flies on the wall. No judgment, just seeing what's going on.
It's very exciting. I'm very excited for it.
I'm excited.
And I should say, there is another instructor, Josh, right? He teaches on Monday evening. So there's three instructors total, and Marianne and I are the ones who co-teach together on Thursday night.
Okay. Yeah. So Nina, you do academic, you called it something.
Strategies.
Academic strategies. Okay. And Marianne, can you tell us just what you're teaching? What do they call it?
So I am the content instructor for the EMS, and Josh is the EMS program director, so he's a content instructor too. So we're actually teaching the didactic and the skills portions of the actual EMT class.
It is the workplace training component of the IET.
Oh, okay, yeah. Great. This vocabulary, I'm still learning a lot. This is all new, so please, thank you for clarifying. So can you guys describe what this IET program is?
Okay, well, IET stands for Integrated Education and Training. So it is bringing together all these different elements of training in a specific career, which in this case is EMT basic. It brings in workplace or workforce preparation, which is stuff like quote unquote soft skills. I think someone called them durable skills at the IET conference. But like professionalism, resumes, skills and knowledge that will help prepare people for the workforce that are not exclusive to the actual career, but across all workforce pathways. And then the academic skills. So because this is within adult education, like the model of IET, the academic skills, like we could say like adult basic education for this IET and a lot of other IETs, we can expand that to just academic skills in general, because we do have students who are, we just have students at so many different levels of backgrounds and education. So just basically the workforce preparation, workforce training, which is the actual career skills, and then the academic skills. So they're all combined and they're all contextualized and they all combine with each other into a beautiful Venn diagram of the course.
Wow.
And that's the idea of IET. And sometimes it feels a little bit challenging to go from the idea of it to the actual implementation. And I feel like I'm still learning how to do that because it's not always easy and it can be hard depending on who you're working with as a co-instructor. But I feel like with Marianne, it's pretty easy. I feel like it works pretty well.
Wow. Yeah. So what is the career pathway?
So career pathway for EMS, we can start at EMR, which is an emergency medical responder. And then it goes to EMT basic. And then they have what's called at the national level, advanced EMT, which is the intermediate EMT in the state of New Mexico, and paramedic. And then you can even go farther on and become like a community paramedicine, associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, flight medics, things like that. They have actually started coming out with masters in EMS. So it's there. But we feed into, I have good friends that have started out as EMT basics that are now physician assistants. We have people that went into the nursing program. We have one student that actually got into medical school during the semester.
Wow.
So, public health personnel. So we have a wide variety. So from our last conference, I learned that we have stackable certificates. Nina just doesn't know about it. I spoke to Josh today, and eventually we'd like to go from EMR all the way up to paramedic here with IET.
Wow, that is incredible. And I just learned so much in that few sentences, Maria. That's
Same.
really
Yeah.
amazing. So like the credential or the certificate that people get here is EMS basic. Is that correct?
In the course that we're talking about right now, but we do teach over the summer, which is EMR, which is even like a precursor to EMT basic.
Oh, okay.
So, and we teach the intermediate. We had our first paramedic program in 20 years here this semester, and we're hoping to have another one in maybe 2 or 3 years.
Great.
So
Amazing. So what was the design process for creating this program?
So for this program, it was different than I think it will be for a lot of programs who are just now starting to design them, because it was kind of already, it feels like the IET component was kind of already baked into it. Would you say?
Yes, because Josh and Ellen Butler started with SunPath a long time ago, and it's just continued. And even we built on it because it's worked. It really does work for the students, and it helps them.
Oh, wow. So did you guys design the curriculum or did you buy a curriculum? That's kind of like, I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that question when I sent it to you guys.
So the curriculum for the actual course comes from, we're accredited through the UNM EMS Academy, and that is national curriculum that we get. So we do have the content that we follow on that. And then we've added in all the academic strategies with the IET.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I guess like to answer the question of how it was designed as an IET, basically it was an academic strategies separate course that was kind of the IET component because it was taught by an adult educator who was Ellen Butler. So, once you add in the adult educator, and she also taught HSE before, adding in the academic support then kind of like makes it an IET. It's not the only way to do it, but so yeah, I think is that kind of like how it started as technically being an IET?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
And my understanding is that the reason they started doing that academic strategies course is because students really did need that extra support because it's really heavy on the academic skills, just navigating this huge textbook and learning all this information every single week, like 4 chapters worth, like 100 pages. And, even just learning how to learn is kind of what it's about.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do when I'm here in the class. It's kind of like my job. And in addition to the other stuff too, but yeah, that was how it started as the IET. So was adding the academic strategies component.
Wow. So just for clarification, so are these students, have they already got their high school equivalency or? Yeah. Okay. So they get their high school equivalency, then they come into this course or?
Well, yeah. Okay. And so this is why it gets confusing. And I had to wrap my head around this for a while because a lot of IET courses are designed specifically within an adult education program. And this program of EMS is within UNM-Taos, but our adult education students can be part of it. So it's kind of different than some IET programs that are specifically, this is, our adult education program offering it. It's already offered through UNM-Taos, and our bridge to the adult education program that is Taos Education Career Center is the adult educator like me or Ellen Butler. And I don't think we've had students in EMT Basic yet who are still getting their high school equivalency, but we do have one student in the class right now who was in my class as an HSE student last year. So that's really fulfilling to see him in this class when he was in my science and language arts class last year. And then we have 2 students who just graduated from TECC, and they both want to go into EMT. And we recommended that they start this summer by taking the EMR class, because that'll be a good way to build them up to the intensity of EMT Basic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Were there any adjustments from the initial launch of this IET?
Yeah.
I think so. Nina and I work together and we brainstorm and we come up with ideas. We try them out. If they work, we keep them and we refine them. And if they don't work, then we go to something else.
Yeah, and the biggest adjustment was going from having academic strategies as a course that's at a separate time, like Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7 on Zoom, to they still get the credit for that class, still a 2-credit class, but it occurs simultaneously as their Thursday night class. So that was the biggest adjustment, from having a separate class time for the academic strategies to academic strategies just being in here at the same time. We're doing it all together. It's incorporated into what we're doing, into what Marianne's doing on Thursday night for her class.
And I have to say, the students, it seems they enjoy it a lot better.
That sounds like a big adjustment. Like,
it's a pretty big adjustment.
Yeah.
I like it better too.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do.
And I think it helps the students more that it's within the context of just being in class. Because Marianne will do test review and lecture, and then we'll do something all together that ties into it. So maybe it'll be doing like practicing documentation based on the scenario, or we'll have an activity and a discussion around resumes and skills and like some digital literacy going on the ONET online website and looking up jobs, or doing really fun games. We did charades for the pharmacology stuff they need to know. And so using like principles of brain-based learning that I've learned through PD for adult education, bringing that into it. It's so much harder to do that on Zoom.
yeah.
I can imagine.
Just for the sake of clarification, I'm sorry if I sound like a big dummy, but like they need a high school diploma or equivalency to be in this program. Okay.
Well, actually, hold on. Not exactly.
Oh, okay.
They don't technically need one. So yeah, the answer is actually no. No one's going to be barred from being in this class if they don't have a high school equivalency. So they don't need to. But the way it works out is just that most of them do.
They have to be 17 by state regulations to take the course. The lower course, the EMR, they have to be 16.
Okay.
So, and that has to do with licensure within the state. So there is kind of an age requirement. We have had dual credit students that were still in high school. So,
So would they have to have their high school equivalency before they complete the program? Or can they get licensed even without
That's actually
it?
a really good question.
Or credentialed, I should say.
They
not
should
licensed.
be able to get credentialed without it.
Okay.
Oh, all right. All right.
Yeah. And like another thing is, so we've had students in our HSE program at TECC who are interested in EMT, but we've recommended to them that they finish their HSE first, because for a program this intense, it would mean they would have to kind of stop focusing on their HSE and do this. And I know the whole idea of the IET is that you're getting your HSE skills within the career training, and that's like the whole point. But I feel like in practice, it's a little bit harder. And especially when we have a student who's in our HSE program that really they still need a lot of like targeted, focused work on, for example, math, so that they can pass the math high set. When it comes to EMT Basic, we've kind of just recommended, okay, hey, keep on working and, work on your HSE skills, come to class at TECC, and then based on your TABE scores, their advisor will kind of help guide them. And just the way it's worked out, we haven't had anybody who's like applied for the program at UNM-Taos. Well, I guess they don't have to apply, but like tried to register who hasn't had an HSE. Maybe that will happen eventually, but I wonder if people just think, oh, it's UNM-Taos, so it's college, so we need to have an HSE. But for CNA, we have had students from TECC who don't have their HSE and they've been in the CNA class. So they complete the CNA credential and are still working on their HSE too. Okay. So that's happened in CNA before. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what structure is needed to maintain this program? From what you've said, it sounds like you guys like really need to communicate a lot and really refine as you go.
Well, we meet weekly via phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually it's via phone or Zoom, and we spend about an hour creating what we're going to do.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. The reason I paused is because I was thinking of like structure and all these different things. It's like there's so many pieces to it because there's us co-planning and then there's structure as in like wraparound support that's available for students and advising and registering and all that stuff on the UNM side of things and all of that. And then Rasa, who's the allied health coordinator, she is on board now helping students navigate all this like logistical stuff of getting in the things they need for clinicals. Like they have to have certain, I actually don't know exactly what all of them are, some vaccinations, some physicals, like that kind of stuff, background checks. So that's part of the structure of it. It's a lot more because it's healthcare than if it were like, you know, welding or something.
Sure.
You have to have all these
Right.
healthcare things. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Just how many students do you guys serve?
For this course, we started with 12.
Mhm.
We still have 11.
Oh,
So
That's pretty good.
That's a really good retention rate.
yeah,
actually.
so
Yeah.
Is it generally like each course, do you guys have like a minimum maximum for how many students?
So usually maximum set at 12. Sometimes if we have a lot of interest, like last semester we started with 18 and I think we graduated 14 or 15.
Okay. Wow.
That's still great.
Yeah. How do you guys recruit, or if you recruit?
Flyers. We go to a lot of the high school job fairs, somewhat social media. Also with myself, I'm the chair for the Enchanted Circle EMS Association. So I meet at least once a month with all the EMS chiefs.
Wow.
And we let them know what we're offering. We do have an EMS advisory commission that Josh Wright, our program director, started, and we meet annually, and our annual meeting will be now coming up at the end of the semester. So we get the information of what the employers need, really.
Cool. Wow. That's a lot.
Okay, so what is the student pathway? In other words, where are they? Where do they need to be to receive their credential? What does that look like? What does the student pathway look like?
So even just for EMT, they can come into this course right off and hopefully end within the 16 weeks after, do their clinical shifts, test, and get their licensure. And that's how EMS was originally set up, actually back in the 1960s. It was made to be a career or something that's quickly trained because they needed EMTs out in the field.
And so was it always meant to be a single semester, really?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
The EMT basic was meant to be very short curriculum, very short class.
But you do make
So-
a really good point, I think, in that when we think about the healthcare field, a lot of times we think about nurses, we think about doctors, we think about physician assistants. EMTs and paramedics are the first people oftentimes that show up to an emergency situation.
First responder.
Exactly.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They're first
Yes.
responders. And so, when you think about how crucial that step is, they have to keep people alive to get them to the doctors and nurses and physician's assistants. So you're very right. This is so needed everywhere.
Yes.
And I like that it's a short, condensed program because it makes it more accessible to people. I think if they had to do a year or 2 years, it would just make it a lot harder for a lot of people to do this. And it seems to have a pretty high success rate. So,
And it is buildable. I mean, you start as an EMT basic, or even a first responder can be a paid position with ski patrol, bike patrol. EMT basic is the first level that can work on the ambulance. But then there's 2 levels after that where you can either, with a paramedic, well, even as an EMT intermediate, you can get an associate's degree. And with paramedic, it's either an associate's degree and or a bachelor's degree.
Yeah. So can you just clarify on the difference? So if you're getting associates in EMT, how is that different from the EMS?
You're still getting the same EMT basic and intermediate. So you're still getting that certification and you're able to work on the ambulance, but you're also furthering your education.
Okay.
And actually, studies have proved that patient care improves with degrees,
Oh,
not just
interesting.
certificates.
Okay.
So
So I'm just trying to think of this like logistically, right? So like if the EMS basic, you could still work in the ambulance.
Yes.
Do they need to be paired with someone who's like has an EMT, or could it just be like 2 EMSs on them?
You could have a basic level truck, is what it's called, with 2 EMT basics on it. And
Oh.
even Taos County runs EMT basic trucks. Or they may be paired with a higher level, like an intermediate or a paramedic. And that's where we get a lot of our in the field experiences when you're working with a higher level.
Right.
We train our own in the field too. And you get that experience. Then you come back and take a higher level, like the intermediate or paramedic. And then they just move up with that knowledge.
And I think you really did a great job of already answering the next question, which is what are the next steps for students? And we've talked about going all the way up to a master's degree if they want to, or being a flight paramedic. So is there anything else you want to add to that? Are there any other options that they can have? I mean, that's a lot already.
I mean, they can go into this is my husband, who's a registered nurse, has always said some of the best nurses he's ever worked with started out as EMTs. He himself started out as an EMT.
Oh, that is
because
interesting.
we have the assessment skills, and they already know, and they go in with that and getting the knowledge from the patient that you need to care for them and treat them.
It also dovetails really well with like firefighting.
Yes.
So we had a student who was already working as a wildland firefighter when he signed up for the course. And then we were looking at the job descriptions and job postings last week with the students for Taos County. They said that a preferred qualification, but not like you couldn't apply if you didn't have this, was to have some fire training. So they'll provide that training once they hire you as well. So I feel like with everything going on with wildfires, EMTs and firefighting, like EMS and firefighting, I feel like they're gonna dovetail like even more than they already do.
That is a really good point. Yeah.
Most departments actually work as a combination, either fire or even the department I work for part-time, which is Angel Fire Department. We have paramedics, and then we also have paramedic firefighters. So it is a combination.
Well, and you brought up the wildfires, which every year we see that, right? That's just part of our existence in New Mexico, especially northern New Mexico. But you also mentioned, the Ski Valley, and emergencies happen, in the winter months with that too. I think there was an avalanche just a couple of years ago, at the Ski Valley. So there's so many, especially here in Taos, there's unique needs for first responders, I think.
Oh yeah, like wilderness first responders too. That's a training that you can do separately.
Great. So how do you define success for this IET program?
I guess on a broad scale, students, learners come out of this with strong academic skills, the career skills, the workforce skills, and the workforce preparation. So they have really good interpersonal and communication skills. They're really going to be really solid as EMTs. Next time they have to do any kind of academic work, they know how to use the textbook and they know how to learn and make flashcards, make mind maps, do whatever works to help you understand all this complex material and manage their time. So like student skills, I guess, and just coming out of it like really well-rounded, and also know how to look for jobs and write a good resume and build those, I think, like networks, like socially and professionally. So all those things all together. And then also that they have had a good experience, like that they've felt supported and heard and seen, and that we weren't just like, oh, either you're a good student or you're not a good student. Like to me, that like really hurts when I see some instructors who are like that, because somebody might come into the class and be like, yeah, I don't know how to really be a student. I'm not really good at school, but they might be an amazing EMT. So giving them the skills to be a student and learn while they're here so that they can succeed and so that those academic skills aren't going to hold them back.
And I want to add something to that. Some of the best EMTs in the street I've seen are the students that struggle in class. So, yep.
Yeah, just for the sake of time, we only have a few minutes. Can you just talk about the benefits of the community this program has for the community?
We've talked a little bit about that already, but do you want to add anything?
I mean, for me personally, I feel really fulfilled when I see our HSC students go into this. Like one of our students right now, just seeing that he's in this class and in this program when he was in our program at TECC just a year ago, like that to me, that feels like a direct like example of how it benefits the community. You can go into our program at TECC and not have your high school equivalency, and then a year later you could be training to become an EMT. So that's one of the things I think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it also, of course, it increases the knowledge and the skill set within the community, right? So it's like people that live here and have families here, and then they're going back and they're having the careers,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
and when I was teaching it was just the online academic strategies component, but like I still got to know some of the students. Like a year ago, those students, a couple of them lived in Penasco, and they were talking about how they weren't EMTs yet, but they were like working as volunteers, and they were pretty much every time they had a call, because Penasco was so small, it was somebody that they knew, or it was someone's cousin, or someone's friend, or someone's grandma. So it's like in a small rural community, you're kind of taking care of your own
Yes.
extended family and
Mhm.
kin and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, the final question we have for you is, what advice would you give to other programs, other adult ed programs who are looking to start IETs?
I honestly, after working with Nina, finding people that can, a content instructor and an IET instructor that can work together. I think personality wise, we click. And even Kylie has said that, that we work really well together. So you have to be open to having the content instructor that's willing to work with the IET instructor and see the value to it. I feel that's very important.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, that's a great note to
Mhm.
end on.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for your time. And I know class is starting in 4 minutes, so we have to stop this, but thank you both. We really look forward to just seeing you in action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You guys rock.
This interview will continue in part 2 of this episode. Thank you for listening to the Nemea podcast.